Well, I've always wanted to be involved in an exorcism film. And I thought, how can you ever top The Exorcist? And then I thought, well, you can't. That's the scariest movie ever. But there is a way to tell an original story that's completely different and scary in its own right. And I'd been talking with producer Eric Newman and Mark Abraham, who had said that we developed the script about The Last Exorcism, and I read it, and it was truly one of the most compelling, interesting, scary scripts I'd read. I couldn't believe it. Every page I kept turning, and I had no idea where the story was going. I thought it was so original and smart. And originally, the writers were attached to direct, so I came on as a producer, which is what we used to secure the financing. I remember talking to William Friedkin about The Exorcist, and I told him it was my favorite horror movie. And he said, I didn't make a horror movie, I made a drama. And the way that Daniel approached the material, he didn't say, we're making a horror movie. He said, we're telling this story about these characters. It was all about the performance, and he knew that the horror would come naturally from the performances. And also, that's where I can step in. If it needs to be scarier at certain points, I could always say, all right, I know this music here, let's change this. I mean, that's what I'm there for. I'm sort of like the horror insurance for the production. And, in the editing, there were times, we wrote new scenes, and I helped him. There's certain areas we really needed to tighten the tension. I could be very, very helpful just having gone through the process so many times before. But Daniel just really understood what would make it disturbing. And he was most focused on getting great performances, which we knew was essential to making the movie work.
Well, what it does in front of the camera is that it kind of allows you to pull down the fourth wall that protects the audience. It's something that in conventional cinema is never broken. The audience always sits in the dark as kind of uninvolved observers. The actors never look at the audience. The camera is completely ignored. And with the documentary format, you kind of do the opposite. You have the actors look into camera. So they look directly at the audience, so the audience becomes involved. This whole, it's just a movie protection doesn't work anymore. They have a representative in the movie that's holding the camera. And that makes them, I think, a lot more vulnerable because they are very aware that they only see what's on the screen, but that there are actually 360 degrees around them of a world that they don't see. And they could get attacked at any moment from any of these angles. And so they're aware that there's more that they don't see than what they see. And that's almost more scary, scarier than having stuff jump at them all the time. Well, it was kind of important to me not to have a religious or anti-religious statement in the movie, but to have these two forces, science and religion, and kind of get them on their way, onto their path, and make a case for both of them, or give them the space to make their own case, their own argument, as fairly and intelligently and eloquently as possible, and kind of have them clash and show why they clash, because there is no communication between them, there is no compromise, there is no bridge you can make between them because they are mutually exclusive. They all want to save the girl. They just come from completely different angles, and because they can't compromise, they cancel each other out, and they stand in each other's way. And that, to me, even away from religion, is very much about what's happening in the US politically, where the Democrats and the Republicans, they don't even work to serve their people anymore. It's all about being the superior party and winning against the other party. And in the end, that leads to a defunct political system that, leads to tragedy.
What is it? It's coming through my skin. Please help. Get it out of me.
Let him come now.
No!
So it's not even the religious message, because it was important to me that I don't make a movie that is 90 minutes long and at the end I tell you if there is a God or not. That would be a very arrogant thing. That's not for me to decide. But I wanted to keep it open and kind of for the audience to fill that in. So the ending, which is very furiously discussed in the US because it's very open-ended, it's important to me that it's open-ended because our protagonist, who kind of regains his belief towards the end and goes to battle with the demon, I didn't want to say and make a statement for God, if there is a God, how he would react to the protagonist asking him for help. Would God say, you found your faith again, so I'm by your side, I'll help you? Or would God say, you know what, you figured that out really late, to suddenly believe in me again, why don't you take this one on your own? So when Cotton walks towards the demon, I had to get out of there before I actually show what's happening. It was funny because Quentin Tarantino came to the premiere and he walked up to me afterwards and said, I need to see that demon and him fighting and blah. So everyone has kind of a different take on how that ending should go, which I love. You know, that's exactly what it's about, that everyone has a different theory of what happens after that point.